The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live seems like the greatest of all the spin-off series that are continuously emerging from the world of The Walking Dead. It revives the original character, Rick Grimes, played by Andrew Lincoln, who was yelled at with great intensity in the series years ago. He wouldn't be the last either, as Stephen Yeun's Glenn suffered a far more cruel and final end. The preview of Rick's future endeavors felt the most promising, though, as the show's main run came to an ultimately sad finish. It might give the developing story a fresh lease of life when combined with Mycon's quest, which she embarked upon in search of him. Yes, The Ones Who Live gets off to a promising start. A few new characters and more interesting first episodes imply that we might be getting something more akin to The Walking Dead. Daryl Dixon than what Fear the Walking Dead ultimately turned out to be. Rather, the longer it goes on, the more it resembles The Walking Dead. Dead City, and then it gets even worse. The show, which was given for review, gets progressively more erratic and disorganized as it progresses through the first 4 episodes. Despite not reaching the lowest point of the original show's demise, that series was characterized by the addition of new characters with minimal nuance. The Ones Who Live still has a long way to go until things pick up and stop going at a slow, zombie-like pace. What was originally intended to be a miniseries has its job cut out for it, albeit it may now grow into more. The main character of the program, as well as the comics and games, but those are unimportant at this point, is Rick Grimes. He is the one who has brought the people together and valiantly defended them from zombies and humans alike. Rick was blowing up a bridge and giving his life to save his group from a pack of walkers the last time we saw him. Rick's crew believed he was dead, with the exception of his closest friend and Commander Mycone and his most important ally, Daryl. However, Rick lived on because of a small foe who later became a thankful friend named Jadis, who gave him to an unidentified military organization. Although Jadis isn't shown in this episode, it's obvious that she will be present because Pollyanna McIntosh's name appears on the title card. Civil Republic Military is the organization in charge of enforcing strict laws and numerous rules and regulations over the made-up city of Civil Republic. These are the individuals that Jadis gave Rick as a B. Anyone that the CRM encounters is categorized as either A or B, where A denotes threats that require attention and B refers to persons that are regarded useful and are hired as consignees. Lieutenant Colonel Okafor of CRM recognizes that Rick has the ability to advance in the organization and possibly take the lead at some point, despite the fact that he is employed as a consignee and assigned to walker-killing duty. Regretfully, Rick's only desire is to get away from CRM and has no interest in working with it. Even on his 4th effort, he keeps attempting, gets caught each time, and loses a hand. Okafor is overjoyed when he eventually caves and says, if you can't beat them, join them for the time being. Okafor isn't only focused on Rick, though. He also has his sights set on Thorn, a South African Marine who is also on his list and hopes to get away from the CRM. We watch General Beale and Rick engaging in a hazy discussion over whether Rick is genuinely into it or whether he's simply manipulating them. Major Beale is not a fool. Even he could see that the man is clearly up to something. It's hardly shocking that Rick decided to enlist in the army after learning that. While it may be difficult to flee as a consignee, it may not be as difficult as a soldier. Rick then turns to his friend Esteban, who fits the CRM requirement as a proper B for assistance. Esteban tells Rick of a hidden tunnel and the code to unlock it, which will eventually lead him outside. He is begged by Esteban to stay and swear loyalty to the good life. That's with the CRM though, and Rick will definitely not follow that. Not only is Esteban attempting to dissuade Rick from trying again, but Thorn is also pressing Rick to change his mind and give up on exploring the outside world. Thorn is shown speaking with Rick and trying to persuade him, but it's obvious that she has no idea who she's speaking to. Rick Grimes tries again, as was inevitable, and this time the idea appears to be rather sound. In order to prevent Okafor and the CRM from pursuing him, he manages to entice a large number of walkers to the tunnel entrance and places his namedic on one of them to fabricate a fake death. However, a yelling youngster stops him just as he is ready to enter the tunnel and shut the hatch. Rick Grimes could never possibly leave a youngster behind who is surrounded by ferocious walkers. Thus, he gives up on the escape for the time being and protects her by removing the threats, with Thorn's assistance, as he appears to be aware of Rick's plans. He becomes enraged when Thorn informs him that Okafor is also aware of Rick's intentions. This leads to the eventual showdown between Rick and Okafor. Although many men have experienced Rick Grimes' anger before, Okafor manages it extremely well. Even while Okafor is being pummeled by Rick, he manages to inform him that he is fully aware of Rick Grimes, McCone, and even his kids. Rick's family must be in danger for anything to ever frighten him and make him listen, and Okafor was able to eventually subdue the beast with that tactic. But unlike old Negan, he is not a sociopath, so rather than controlling Rick, he gives him a seat at the top table, which translates to a lot of power. We learn that Rick Grimes is actually finally moving on from Michonne and his previous life, despite the first impression that he had given up on life and considered suicide. Rick Grimes has finally reached a place in his life where he is beginning to view CRM as a new mission, after years of self-doubt. Although Rick Grimes leaving Michonne and fully embracing his new persona, where Andrew Lincoln looks as cool as ever in a black suit, must be depressing for hardcore fans of The Walking Dead, it actually makes a lot of sense for the character. Rick is a man who has always prioritized protecting the world before his own needs. The CRM folks are fools in suits, but at least they're not wicked yet. And Okafor was astute enough to see that they really do need someone like Rick Grimes to save them. When the collapse of Omaha, another city the CRM ruled with an iron grip, and when they demilitarized their autocratic dictatorship and embraced the common people, Rick's last worry is dispelled. This just serves to highlight the reality that, in the world they inhabit, adhering to CRM's strict guidelines and keeping their secrets safe are essential if you hope to survive. He welcomes the black, signifying the beginning of a new age, and burns every letter he has ever sent to Michonne, even though he knows she will never be able to read them. Rick and Okafor are seen working together as co-pilots on a helicopter operation in what the show portrays as the present day. Rick doesn't seem to be talking much, which Okafor finds annoying, but other than that, they appear to be really good friends. He tells a narrative from his boyhood about his father doing something terrible to preserve his family, perhaps to disprove his co-pilot. After the story is over, Okafor tells him a secret that involves swearing to a sword. Whatever that means, it's quite vague, but he believes that when the time comes, Rick will understand. Okafor is struck by something strong enough to pass through his strong vest just as he finishes. In an instant, he passes away, and Rick witnesses everyone around him collapsing and blood splattering all over the place. As the chopper crashes, he informs the control room of what's happening, obviously surprised. After escaping the collision, Rick puts on his helmet and begins to run, but he is stopped by a warrior who slashes his throat with a katana and removes his helmet. Naturally, there's no reward for figuring out who the warrior is. Rick and Michonne were the central characters of The Walking Dead, the ones who live, and ever since Michonne smelled that Rick might still be alive, she has wanted to save the former. And while it's always great to see Denai Guerrera in action, whether in Wakanda or post-apocalyptic America, I'm pretty sure that the next episode will center on Michonne's search for Rick. It's actually good to see the series taking just about one episode to bring these two back together. Regarding Rick Grimes, he is surprised to see Michonne, and it will be intriguing to observe his response to her deed of saving him on her own.